Very good morning, day ones. I hope you had a very nice time. Yeah. How are you spending these quarantine days? Feeling locked up at home? Today we shall spend some time talking about these also, right? And just tell me whether the homework that was given to you, the PDF file that I shared with you, was of any help to you people. I hope it made the things easy for you. The notes provided, the guidance provided, the hints provided to you helped you in understanding the chapter. This chapter, this chapter happens to be yeah, you may say one of the lengthiest chapters of your syllabus, but along with that, it is very important because in this section, in this chapter, we shall just summarize how revolutions took shape, right? How revolution, right? And the feeling of nationalism spreaded over from Europe to the other parts of the world. The idea of nation comes from the image. It is towards the second half of the 18th century that it took an outward projection. It image developed by Federico in the year 1848. The very chapter in your book starts with that image. On the first and in the beginning of the chapter only you see the image. His dream of a world socialist republics. I forwarded you the notes and that really gave you a summary of the first section wherein you found that how nationalism took shape in Europe, and through that image we will try to recapitulate that aspect. We found that people belonging to different parts of Europe and America, as per that image, are seen marching in a long train, offering homage to the Statue of Liberty, which symbolizes the strong desire for freedom. Towards the bottom of the image, we found the remnants of the old kingship pattern. Okay, we found the remnants of the old kingship pattern, wherein you found that the crown, yeah, you can see this image, you can see the crown, any image, any symbol that is associated with the kings and the rulers of that time, these are all lying down and as if in a careless manner, as if no one cares for it. This shows the mental maths that was going on in the minds of the people during that time. Right? The Statue of Liberty stands here. The prophets are guiding the people from all over Europe. They are moving in a long train, and as they pass through they come and stand below the Statue of Liberty and they pay their homage, as if trying to say that we all want freedom from these despotic rulers, the the aristocrats, okay, the autonomous pattern of system, the political system that prevails. We want freedom from that. We want liberty, and the idea of nation state came into the mindset of the people. Okay, I'm giving you a recap so as to make you remember and recall all these things. Okay, right? So Suru, through this image, okay, it is just a print of what he was visualized, the way he visualized the world to be in the time to come. And all these started in France. That's why in class ninth we studied the French Revolution. The French were the first people all over the world who just came up with the idea of giving up the old pattern and bringing up some modernization. From there, developed the concept of forming a nation state. Suru, through this image, visualizes the world which demands change towards the emergence of nation in place of these multinational dynastic empires which prevailed in Europe during that period. Based on this image, we shall look at the diverse process of the 19th century. In the first part of the first section of the chapter focuses on the national revolution and the idea of the first clear expression of nationalism came with the French Revolution in the later half of the 17th century, precisely 1789, when the National Assembly was formed, when the feudal lord was overthrown and his absolute control over the people of France was changed to a constitutional monarch. France during that period had converted itself to a type of governance wherein the absolute monarch is moved from his position, thrown from his position, and people the members of the National Assembly bring up a change in the system of governance by converting him to a constitutional monarch. Who's he? I'm talking about Louis XVI, the feudal lord, the monarch of France during that period. The French Revolution led to the transfer of power to a body of French citizens whom we know are familiar with now in the name of National Assembly. They proclaim giving importance to this National Assembly gives us a feeling that we are giving more importance to, we are proclaiming the statement, the thought that people constitute the nation and people are the ones to shape the nation's destiny. Then there were some other aspects also that strengthen this feeling of nationalism. The idea of la patrie and le citoyen, my the fatherland and the citizens. It emphasized the notion of a united community which enjoyed equal rights under a constitution. Then the French flag was again replaced. In place of the royal standard, the old royal flag, the French tricolor was brought into existence. The Estates General Assembly, you remember, I suppose, we studied in class 9. It was renamed as the National Assembly and it comprised of an elected body of active citizens. New hymns were composed, oaths were taken, promises were taken, martyrs were commemorated in the name of the nation. All those who contributed their best for making France an independent nation give it the freedom from the despotic rulers, the autocratic rulers, and the aristocrats. They were remembered and they were paid homage to. Then there were uniform laws that were made for the citizens, and there was a centralized administrative system that was formed. The internal customs duties were abolished, and the French language was considered as the national language. These all factors really help develop a feeling of oneness amidst the citizens in the minds of the citizens. The regional dialects were disregarded. It was not that people did not speak, but French accepted France accepted French as their national language. The revolutionaries, the ones those who visualized this change and who took up the responsibility of bringing up this change, also declared the French mission to liberate the people of Europe from these despotic rulers and come up as independent nations. Herein comes the concept of the nation states, wherein each unit of Europe would try to come out of the old kingship pattern and reconstruct an independent status. This very mammoth task of making people understand and feel for the nation, develop in them the feeling of nationalism, nation love, was taken up along with these revolutionaries by a major group of the French society, that was the educated middle class. They started setting up unions, clubs. I suppose we remember the Jacobin Club, right? Of which Robespierre Maximilian was the leader, and he brought up a lot of change in France, bringing up standard units and making the people in France feel worthy of their existence in France. But due to his extreme greed and his feeling of proving his supremacy over the people in the later run, the people in France who were already awakened by now, maybe to a certain extent due to his policies only, but now started realizing that they were not supposed to obey any strong ruler's personal opinions. No one could inject into them or force them to follow one's personal ideas. So ultimately, the very same person, Robespierre, he was guillotined as per his own policies. All those who went against him, we remember that they were guillotinized, beheaded, right? The same thing, he was subjected to the same policy. Then, after him, the French armies also, along with the revolutionaries, took up the responsibility of spreading the feeling of nationalism in different parts of Europe. What happened in France during that period? Napoleon Bonaparte, he took the responsibility of leading France. As a strong leader, he incorporated certain principles, revolutionary principles. Why am I using the term revolutionary? Revolution means the desire to bring up change. So Napoleon Bonaparte, who declared himself as the leader of France, who would really liberate France from the old painful state to a new modernized state, okay, he tended to guide the people and come up with certain revolutionary, means new changes and principles. We came to know about it in this chapter as the new civil code of France in the year 1804. We also know the civil code of 1804 as the Napoleonic Code. What did Napoleon do in this? What did he promise to the people of France? He promised that he would do away. These are all the features of the Napoleon Code or the tasks undertaken as per the Napoleonic Code. The code did away with all the privileges which were based on birth, and established equality before law, secured the right to property. The administrative divisions were simplified. The old feudal system was abolished, done away with. Nobody tended to obey it. The peasants were freed from the manorial dues. The guild, the artisans, the business class, entire transportation and the communication system was improved so as to make it possible for these people, those who belong to these business class, to transfer their goods, move their goods, transport their goods and views from one place to other. Standardized weights and measures into use. Common national currency put into practice so as to make easy the movement from one place to the others without any fear in the mindsets of the businessmen. Because I need to tell you, during this period, the system that prevailed in France was that France, which was a combination of small independent units, states, had their own weighing and measuring system, had their own laws of trade and transportation. Now, this disturbed the traders and the business class because whatever was measured in one place did not match up with, and as a result, these traders and business class had to suffer a lot. Now, Napoleonic Code solved the situation in this manner that okay, that they uniformed everything. There was a standard unit of ways and measures that were followed. All these changes, after a lot of pain, was brought up by Napoleon, and thus these changes made Napoleon popular amidst the people. Not only Napoleon became popular and much loved in France, even the French armies were considered and welcomed elsewhere than France, beyond the borders of France, in different parts of Europe. Now, the French armies were even considered as the harbingers. Harbingers means the people, the agents which were responsible for bringing up a positive change in Europe, as bringing modernization to Europe. This initial enthusiasm, though this was welcomed everywhere, and people else than France also really respected and welcomed the Napoleonic Code and the Napoleonic principles, but this system of peace and satisfaction could not continue to prevail till long, right? Because soon Napoleon became popular. Along with popularity, increased his greed to be the emperor of, to bring the entire Europe under his control. And when he started fighting wars and bringing different parts of Europe under his control, his popularity, on the other hand, reduced because he imposed new taxes. Okay, he imposed new taxes. He imposed restrictions on the censor board, the press, and the media. And he forced the young boys to join the French army so as to fulfill his greed, to become the emperor, to become an overall controller of the entire rest of Europe. So, this greed took Napoleon to his doom, to his end. And in the battlefield of Waterloo in the year 1815, we see that Napoleon meets his end. Now begins today's section number 2. What happens in Europe after the end of Napoleon? You see, children, think of the mindset. Imagine the mindset of the people living in Europe. Already they were now awakened. Already they had tasted the goodness of freedom and liberty. Now, not only in France, people elsewhere in Europe also started visualizing the concept of nation state. making themselves, freeing themselves from the despotic rulers of their areas. So, this is what we will be seeing in this section, section number 2, making of nationalism in Europe. Europe in the mid 18th century was divided into, what was the scenario there? What was the political social system? Right? How were the regions divided in Europe? Europe was divided into small kingdoms, duchies, cantons, whose rulers had their autonomous means single-handed control over their territories, and within these territories diverse people lived, speaking different language and belonging to different ethnic groups. Europe had regional states, regional variation, empires, language, and culture. And because it had so much of diversity all over, there was so much of diversity all over Europe. So, such differences did not easily promote a sense of political unity. So, what was the need of the hour to bring up a change in this system of governance? The aristocracy and the middle class. What did they do during this period? Amidst all these variations, the idea of nationalism and nation state emerged due to the social setup that prevailed in the European society during that period. Because we need to understand that the entire European society it basically comprised of two main classes. The first was the aristocrat, the rich, the princely people. Okay, the people, those who had ties with the upper class society. Okay, and the second group or the second class was the new middle class, which comprised of the educated masses, the traders, the merchants, the educated masses, the traders and the merchants, those who had already been in tune with the other parts of Europe due to the Napoleonic Code, which really made trade and transportation smooth running, these traders and merchants found it easy to have trade ties with different parts of the European continent. As a result of that, they had a more refined mentality. They had already seen that the ideas of liberty, freedom, and nation states really gave them a boost up in their confidence level. Now, the people, those who had already imagined and enjoyed this fruit of enlightenment, they could not really get back to the old system of aristocracy, right? So, they really wanted and took the initiative to enlighten the others living in different parts of Europe. The aristocrats, there was a conflict, constant conflict in between these two classes. The aristocrat, those who, after Napoleon Bonaparte, wanted to go back to the same old system of control by the conservatives, right? Now had a conflict, a fight with those revolutionaries and these middle class people, the emerging new middle class people, those who had already tasted the freedom and feelings like liberty and growth by bringing unity and through the implementation of the concept of nation state. There was a constant fight in between these two groups. The aristocrat on one hand wanted to go back to the old system, and the new middle class and the revolutionaries and the traders and the rich people in France and different parts of Europe wanted to bring up a change, freedom from these despotic rulers as well as these aristocrats. So there was a clash between these two political ideologies, conservatism versus modernization or democracy, as you say. And the social ideologies. There were two ideologies. First, okay, in the mindset of the aristocrats and the new middle class, there were two ideas that were at constant conflict with one another. The first was the political ideology. The political ideology concentrated on the fight between the conservative idea of going back to the old conservative rulers pattern in contrast to the ideas that were in the mindsets of the new educated middle class that was bringing up modernization or taking to democracy. And on the other hand was the social ideology. The social ideology was the feeling that prevailed in the society. What type of feeling could we have? The conservative felt that they were the superior because they were the power holder, they were the rich, they were the rulers once upon a time. And the new middle class, which promoted equality, freedom, liberty, these concepts, there was a constant conflict in between these two social ideologies. On one hand, supremacy, the other hand, equality. Now, under this system, the idea of national liberty that came up in the 19th century Europe. Okay, now what did this national liberal nationalism stand for? The ideas of national liberty. Okay, is it too much for you people today? We shall continue from the ideas of national liberalism. Once I forward you the notes for today, please go through it and keep yourself mentally prepared. Now, along with that, children, yesterday night you received a message from your class teachers, right? I need to brief you up regarding that as well. You saw that during this time of being locked up at home, there is a very important role as you, the enlightened ones, need to deliver and share with your friends. Okay, you need to tell them, okay, you need to tell your friends that as well as your family members that they need to take this entire system in a proper manner, in a positive manner. They need to see that the things are really taken into in a positive tone. I shall brief you up about that as well. Okay, just give me 2 minutes. Just give me 2 minutes. Even though I am going beyond my time, let me share with you. You have a very prominent role to play at home at this moment. Those who could read and understand the message, please try to implement it. Try to take this situation, right? Help build up a strong family bond in you people. Help your parents understand that and be the initiator to bring up that change. Take this present situation as a challenge which is giving you enough time to retrospect. Understand your responsibility as enlightened people who can really shape up the world in a positive manner. Bring up this change in your family first and continue. Read the message. I request you, and tomorrow I shall share a little bit about it with you towards the end again. Today, as I forward you today's task, please do read the message. Please do read that assignment and keep yourself mentally prepared with the second section of the chapter. I hope you understood it. I hope you understood it. I'm not receiving messages from your side. No responses I'm receiving this today. I hope you are getting me. Read the message. We shall discuss it once again tomorrow. Okay? Bye for today. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please do read the message as you do the homework also. Do both. Okay? Bye. Bye. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, dear ones.